Hi, I'm Melissa Meeks. This video debriefs the peer learning activity in Eli Review. You completed a small bit of writing on Monday. You gave feedback on Tuesday. Today, we're processing and debriefing feedback. In this step, I'm going to use whole class feedback to encourage revision. Tomorrow, you'll build your own revision plan. In a course, we would repeat these steps, building from where we ended or starting a new project. The work we're doing today, debriefing, is important because, as Dylan William explains in his article, The Secret of Effective Feedback from ASCD, the only important thing about feedback is what students do with it. In debriefing, my goal as the instructor is to inspire revision so that no matter what personal feedback you got from your peers, you will be exposed to trends and models that challenge you to improve your draft. Your revision begins by rereading the assignment guidelines. In your haste to compose a draft, it's easy to miss critical details. In this case, the writing task was simply to compose a syllabus blurb or talking points that convince students of the value of peer learning. Now, let's look at the review task. How did you feel when you saw these very specific, unannounced criteria? In previous workshops, I've gotten emails from confused and angry participants. This is an intentional teaching moment. I want you to remember that discomfort when you design peer learning activities. Surprise criteria compromise trust. Don't do that to your students. Be explicit about the criteria in the writing task. In this review, I also wanted participants to have a durable list of options for pitching peer learning to their students. The first set of options is about how you might connect peer learning with course goals, your own pedagogy, or students' academic and personal goals. The second set covers the pedagogical principles in the readings in order to see if writers took up any of these ideas. The third set acknowledges that students bring many negative experiences to peer learning. Raising their expectations takes intentional conversation and practice. They'll believe you when they have a better experience. Overall, the review task focuses reviewers' attention when giving feedback. This focused feedback comes back like survey data. Before we work with the numbers, remember this image from the videos you watched on Monday? This is a little dancer who looks to the side and sees another little dancer doing the right move, so she makes adjustments. In Eli, we are using this data to encourage the same kind of self-reflection through peer comparison. Your Feedback Received report itemizes your feedback. In these checklists, reviewers ticked the box to say, "Yes, I see that feature," or left it blank to say, "No, I don't see that feature." The percentages indicate the rate of agreement among reviewers. 50%, for example, is not an assessment of effectiveness, not a grade. It means one of your reviewers thought you covered that criteria and the other did not. You can decide which reviewer to believe. For students, getting a split vote can be very disconcerting, so try to make groups of 4 or 5 students to be sure there is a tiebreaker. That's another teachable moment in this workshop. Bigger groups make the feedback more believable. The class average tells you how many reviewers notice that criteria in all the drafts. These are the overall trends, so you can decide how much you want to be like everyone else. Let's walk through the class trends together. This assignment had one goal: to explain why peer learning has value to students, and 100% of the drafts read by reviewers met that criteria. That's very rare in this workshop, so nice job everybody. If you wanted to add additional framing, you might consider connecting it to course or department goals or to your own experiences as the instructor. The second set of trends indicates that most people were incorporating the notions of helpful feedback in the readings, and that makes really good sense. The less popular ideas were explaining why Eli works in small bits and also revision planning. You don't have to cover all of these ideas in your blurb, but they might give you a way in to explaining the process to students. The third set looks at the emotional baggage issues, and you're not going to be able to address those on the first day of peer learning. You're going to have to confront them over time. But I hope this list gives you a sense of some of the issues you might need to bring up with students to help them raise their expectations for peer feedback. The scaled response question asks you to nominate some drafts for class discussion, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to use two that you nominated and then two that I chose. Here's the first model. You might want to pause the video and read the whole draft. I'm just going to focus on one little section in each draft so that you see the move. The first move in this draft mentions the research, and the empirical research on giver's gain is quite clear. In our blog post on giver's gain, we have what Bill recently referred to as our Dr. Seuss model of explaining peer review to students. We also list a couple of sources, give a video of an instructor talking about how she uses giver's gain in her class, and then have a full bibliography. So if you want to include research in your justification for the value of peer learning, I hope this resource is useful to you. The second move in this draft is to refer to student testimonials, and that's a very powerful way to help students know that you attend to student feedback and that you're using it in your teaching. Let's look at another draft. You might want to take a second and pause the video and read the full draft. The basic move in this blurb is to point out that evaluation, whether it's good or bad, is useless for driving revision, and then to contrast that with the kind of feedback that describes, evaluates, suggests. So that's a nice contrast. It also wraps up by calling this a double benefit of peer review. So that's another way of talking about giver's gain. Here's a third draft. The unique move in this draft is to let students know that they will get feedback on their feedback. That is, their contributions as reviewers will be treated as an artifact of value in the assessment of the course. That's really strange for students. Often, reviewer labor is busy work, and it's presented as dismissible yellow comments in a sticky note. Instead, in Eli, all of the comments are aggregated in a single review, and instructors have tools to aggregate them across the entire course. So thinking of review as a body of work that contributes to learning is really different for students, and so I like the way this draft kind of explains that. This fourth model uses some HTML markup because it was copied from an environment that had really clean code and pasted into Eli. Then that code is preserved, but recognize that very little of the internet writing is clean. So you take some risk when you paste code into another environment. This one happens to render beautifully, so whew. The other thing to notice about this draft is that it uses the frame of the writer's room. And the key line for me as a reader is that it explains to students that feedback should be free of judgment and have the intent of helping the author find the best version of their work. This is where you're pushing against all of students' prior experiences because feedback is typically evaluative. And so helping students develop language for talking about their work in progress that doesn't primarily involve evaluation as a goal, like I like it, it's good or bad, or here's a mistake, right? Helping them develop that language is a part of the teaching here. So I hope these four models give you some ideas about how to convey the value of peer learning to students, to give them kind of a picture of what you're doing and some reasons for believing that it can be different. Now that we've looked at some drafts together, I want to take a second to celebrate some really great feedback that you gave each other during the peer review. And I participate in peer review by giving a blue thumbs up to those comments that are exceptional, that really fulfill, describe, evaluate, suggest, but also show that the reviewer is thinking alongside the writer about how to make that draft better in a very specific or brave way. So if you get a blue thumbs up as a reviewer, You did a great job on that comment. If you receive a comment that has a blue thumbs up, that's my little way of saying I think it's something you should pay attention to. You might not necessarily do exactly what that reviewer suggests, but I think that the way the reviewer is interacting with your work is powerful and it deserves some of your attention. So let's look at this comment together. The first couple of sentences are descriptive to help the writer know what the reviewer finds valuable about it. Then there's a shift to the evaluation, what's confusing, and a localization. It's the word mistakes or the way mistakes are used in multiple parts of the paragraph. The suggestion has a great move in it. And the first move is to say, you've done this well somewhere else in this draft, but take that strength and put it here. A little bit about comments. I noticed that there was a writer who got conflicting feedback from reviewers. The first reviewer said, I like using the term advanced because it helps students know that they have some skills, but they're going to improve. The next reviewer says, I like it, but then later suggests you might let go of that entirely. So this is an example of really effective peer review, but it can feel like a problem. So if you are a writer who's receiving mixed feedback, know that that thing is powerful and you're going to have to figure out what you want to do with it to best suit all the different readers of your draft. So far, you've seen your peer feedback on checklists and ratings. Now, we are going to work through the comments you received. The review task asks reviewers to compose 2 comments total. Each comment needs to describe, evaluate, suggest. This 3-part strategy, developed by Eli co-founder Dr. Bill Hart Davidson from Michigan State University, makes sure that comments have enough information to persuade writers to revise. Moreover, these elaborated comments help reviewers practice naming problems and solutions, which is the kind of thinking that transfers beyond this assignment. As you read your comments, use the helpfulness stars to rate each comment. Give a star for each yes. Does the comment describe your writing so that you know what readers understand from it? Does this comment help you evaluate your progress toward the assignment goals? Does the comment offer a specific suggestion that you can follow when you revise? The 4th star is the kindness star. Does this comment show particular respect for you and your work? It's really got to go the extra mile to earn the 4th star. The 5th star is for those comments that are transformative. It should be used rarely, only for those comments that help you radically rethink your work. Most comments should get 3 stars. 3-star comments have all the information necessary for writers to revise. This helpfulness rating flows back to the reviewer and to the instructor. In a low-stakes way, writers can use the helpfulness ratings to say, I'm getting what I need to revise, or not. Instructors can use that information to coach particular reviewers who are struggling to give helpful feedback. The second decision you make as you read through your comments is which ones are you going to add to your revision plan. You have a button over to the right that says Add to Revision Plan. When you click it, you choose which writing task this comment applies to, and a copy of the comment is going to be moved to that revision plan. In the box, you can add a note for yourself and your instructor about how you plan to use this feedback. Then, you can either return to the review task to get more comments, or you can go straight to the plan. Let's return to the review task and recap. Eli's features help writers work through a decision-making process around each comment. How helpful was this comment to me? And do I want to add it to my plan? These easy follow-through actions hold writers accountable for using peer feedback. Let me show you what your revision plan looks like. When you go to the dashboard, you can click on the task. Any comments you've added from your review will appear, and you can drag and drop them into priority order from most to least important. You can also update any notes you've made about how you are going to apply the feedback when you revise. Once you are happy with your list of comments, you can use the additional note space to put any ideas you want to remember from the checklist, from the models shared in this debriefing video, or from the drafts you read and gave feedback to. In your note, you can also communicate directly with me about your revisions and your questions. When you are done, share your revision plan. I'll reply to your revision plan by Friday. As an instructor, you don't have to assign revision plans or respond to students individually. If you choose to do so, your intervention can be light because students will have done the heavy lifting in identifying their revision goals. In your dashboard, you will also see the last task for the week, a revision of your original draft. I don't actually expect you to revise, but I want you to see how Eli takes your original task and makes it available to you for revision. This feature makes it quick and easy for students to revise in the app. This concludes the debriefing video. I hope it was helpful for giving you a sense of how Eli works. In Eli, students get the information they need to revise from the review task itself, whole class feedback, and their personal peer feedback.